Hello, everybody. Welcome to Out of Character. I'm your host, Faulty GM, and today we're answering another question. Another question. All right, so I actually forgot this question. So I uploaded 3 videos earlier and just completely forgot this question. So the question today that we are answering is: what event in your world altered its history? Um, this question is brought to you by Absolute Tabletop, who is making this promotion. They are the brain people that created brain people. What's going on? All right, so they are the people that came up with hashtag my 30-day world challenge. I don't know why I keep adding challenge onto it. It just sounds weird to say hashtag my 30-day world. Anyway, they're the ones that came up with this specifically. Tem put it out, published it from Tabletop Terrors. If you're not subscribed to them, subscribe to them. If you're not a part of the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group, you should probably be, and do that thing. I will leave the link to a deadman's guide to Dragongrin, which is what this thing is all about. If you want to find out more about a deadman's guide to Dragongrin, the link will be in the description down below. All right, cool. So let's answer the question. All right, what event in your world altered its history? So I've talked about this briefly before, specifically with the Immortal Emperor, right? So the big event, the world-shattering, altering event, was the death of Salvia. The death of Salvia in my world was the shifting moment of history. Almost everything that has come after the Industrial Revolution, the Immortal Emperor, the hero of the failed rebellion, all of those things can be traced back to her death. So the death of Salvia, what it pretty much triggered was the end of magic for the majority of humanity. Most of humanity lost their connection to magic, which made them a target. Those who maintained their connection to magic had such a frail connection to magic that they could barely keep up with the rest of the 7 races. So the 6 other races, the 6 non-human races, caved in on humanity and started taking their lands, enslaving humans. It was a really dark time to be a human at that point. And because because a goddess died, a lot of things started to come into question. Could gods be killed? What were gods? Allegiances to gods started to become very fragile because beforehand, I obviously haven't said any of this before, but before any of this, the gods had pretty much tortured their creations. They had plagued them, gave them diseases, forced them to shed their skin, so on and so forth, to prove that they were the better god than the others. But none of the races would turn against their god because they were their creators. They were infallible, and they were pretty much nature itself. So it would be like trying to murder a hurricane. You can't. You just have to accept that it exists. And if it wants you to do something, it's either do it or death. So you just did it. But if a god can be killed, that changes things. That puts things into more perspective. Now, like I said, Salvia gave way to the rise of the Immortal King, or the Immortal Emperor. Because if it wasn't for her death, the humans wouldn't have lost their magic. And if it wasn't for the humans losing their magic, the other races would not have just jumped on them in such a brutal, devastating way. And the humans wouldn't have had to rely on the Immortal King and his creations. It's possible that the Immortal King would never have created those creations. Those creations would have never come about. Now, another big moment in my world's history is obviously the creation of the Magisters and the Launchers and the Slugs. But previous to those was the printing press. Most historians inside of Belmar will mostly agree that the magical industrial revolution that is currently raging right now inside of this world is owed to the printing press. Now you could say it's owed to the new processing power and blah 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 blah. But the thing that really set the precedent, the thing that a lot of people think the Immortal King based his designs on, was the magic printing press. Now, how the magic printing press worked is, before the magic printing press, when you constructed scrolls, what you did was you took the components that you would use to cast a spell, right? Let's say like you need ashes and like tail of newt or blah 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 to do this, that, or the other to cast the fireball. What you do is you would crush those components into powder, and then you would create paper out of that. You would use whatever it is, and you would create the paper out of those materials, and then you would lace the paper with magic and make the magic dormant. And whenever somebody with magical power pushed a little bit of magic into the paper itself, the paper would cast the spell for you. So you would use minimal power to cast a spell. What the printing press did was it revolutionized the way we created that paper. It could create those papers on an industrial level. So now you have now you just have like all these spells that are being pumped out one after another over and over and over and over and over again, and the machine itself is doing most of the work. The machine itself is creating the paper of which you are casting the spells on. So now it doesn't take one person weeks and weeks and weeks to create like a bundle of paper. Now the price of spell paper, or the price of scrolls, has dramatically decreased, because the amount of work to use those spell scrolls is the amount of work it takes to produce those spell scrolls is ridiculously low. So now you have a flooding of the market of spell scrolls, and all these people are able to use them to try to fend off against the invading forces. And it's this principle, and it's this ideology that a lot of people think led the Immortal Emperor to create magisters and the autocasters and the spell slugs and the launchers and so on and so forth, and the future technology that would come after his death that would continue to become rampant. And the pretty much what that did is create a rush in society to try to industrialize magic, right? How do I take this thing that I can do, right? Let's say I want to cast a fireball. How do I do that on an industrial level? How do I make it so that everybody can do that? How do I make it so that even the weakest mage can cast the strongest spell every single time? And that's pretty much what the printing press did. So I know it only asks for one, but those are the two major events in modern history that kind of revolutionized the world. So the death of Salvia led to pretty much everything that preceded it. It was a domino effect. Of her death led to all these things. It led to the printing press. It led to the magisters, the slugs, the Immortal Emperor, the death of the Immortal Emperor, the fall of the Empire, the rise of the hero, the collapse of everything and the warring state of the continent. It led to all those things right after her death. But the printing press specifically led to the magisters, led to the slugs and the technological revolution, and it led to the magical industrial revolution that we have today. Pretty much everyone is trying to create the next printing press. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that is the two world altering events that altered history and the world of Belmar in my slug setting. This has been Out of Character. I'm your host, Defaulted GM. Please leave down below what world events altered the world your setting. Sorry, can't speak words today. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you have videos that you posted. Leave the links down below so that other people can view them and I'll check them out myself. Let me know what you guys think about what I've said here today. And yeah, peace.